Okay, so we are ready to go, and it is time to go. So let me get this up and going. Hang on just a sec. Where's my? Well, it apparently doesn't have the webinar to start, so I guess we're up and going. So anyway, well, hi, how are you? Good to see everybody. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, and that explains why we had the multiple Gary Haddens on here. Okay, so now I'm starting to figure this out. So this is Life's Copilot. Carrying transitions is what I do to make a living, but Life's Copilot is something we do to try to provide services for our consumer base, who is predominantly seniors that we're helping downsize, pack, move, sell their stuff off, what have you. So Life's Copilot is a resource just to bring information to our seniors, their family members, their caregivers. And so tonight, I'm very excited. We have Gary Hadden, Officer Gary Hadden, who is with the Homeland Security Investigations. He's also with Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. And you do all kinds of fraud stuff and things like that. So you were doing a thing on cybercrime and
no, I don't do fraud.
on one we were at. Okay, so someplace you were talking. So I really wanted to get him to share with us what's going on, and we have guests with us as well who he's just helped take care of. So Gary, I want to let you introduce yourself and get things started from there. Hello? Did we freeze?
Okay, you're breaking up, so I'm not sure who you want to go. Is that for
Gary?
is that for me?
Just introduce yourself.
Now you're unfrozen maybe a little bit, but yep. So I'm going to share the screen with you. I'm going to upload a PowerPoint and we'll follow along with it. I'm Detective Gary Hadden. So I'm with the Indianapolis Metro Police Department. I'm a criminal interdiction officer, canine officer, and I also a task force officer at Homeland Security. My main job is to stop drug trafficking proceeds and drugs going across the country. I'm mostly at FedEx at night doing that, but we do highway interdiction, hotel interdiction, and things like that. We have a 13-man unit. We have 11 dogs in that unit that I train to sniff these things out. And I'm just going to jump in here. What happens is that when I'm working FedEx parcels, I'm going to share this PowerPoint so everybody can see it. Is that coming up?
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're going.
We're good? Okay. So, all right. We stumble across these fraud cases, and there's numerous. Unfortunately, we don't find all of them, but we try to. A lot of times, the victims are asked to package it and label it secret. They don't want family members to know. That's how normally they first know that it's going to be a fraud. And we try to teach everybody that what we can. And if they're trying to keep you on the phone or they're trying to tell you to keep it a secret and they don't tell family members, then that's the first thing you should. That's it in a nutshell. There's a lot of different out there. Home improvement fraud. We had one of those recently. Stolen checks. As a matter of fact, I was a victim of that recently myself. And we caught the person who stole the check from my mailbox, basically, and wrote himself a nice little check. So he was just arrested in Lafayette, Indiana. Like I said, our narcotics investigations kind of take us to these fraud investigations. So I'm going to skip through some of these. So we have a lot of partners in this. So not just HSI, Homeland Security, but postal inspectors, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Secret Service, and things like that. Identity theft is very common. Somebody's posing to be somebody else, or they're stealing your identity. Some of those things are sold on the dark web. Have you guys heard of the dark web before?
Right. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
maybe. Do you know what the dark web is? Okay, so on the dark web, a lot of your information is shared there, and I'm going to talk a little bit about protecting yourself. So they'll make you feel embarrassed. That's first and foremost. Every victim I talk to, either sometimes they're not cooperative because they're so embarrassed, and I try to ease that embarrassment by telling them this is not uncommon. It happens to a lot of people. Victim feel embarrassed also. So I'm glad Andrea's on here because I know that she made her mom feel less embarrassed. I hope she did. Anyway, you sound like you did, Andrea. So it can have a lasting effect, not just financially, but it hurts the whole family sometimes, changes your life plans. And again, don't be ashamed. Make that police report locally and then wherever, like I said, we ever get it from too. Sometimes the victims only give us bits of information. And then we try to have follow-ups. If there's a victims assistance in your area, they can do follow-ups with those victims to make sure that they're taken care of, and if you get continued phone calls, that somebody's there to assist them. I would talk to the banks and bank managers also. It's very important to do that, to keep them apprised of what's going on, maybe stop it. So here's the this is the best advice that I can give, is that contact all your credit companies and freeze your credit. We'll keep the scammers and the fraudsters from trying to establish credit. One of the things that I've done over the years is we had our identity stolen years ago. Our car was broken into, and they took our identities and then duplicated that identity of my wife. And that person was going out and writing checks and buying a lot of purchases. We had LifeLock that helped us with creditors coming after us, collection agencies. And so if you have these numbers, make sure you can go online also and just freeze your credit. What happens is that if somebody tries to make a big purchase, they won't be able to. All right. One of the big scams now is people are going in and they're stealing cars. Once they steal the identity, they go into a car dealership, and the credit's not frozen. And the next thing you know, they're getting a payment book in the mail for an $80,000 vehicle, a Mercedes or something that just rolled out of a car dealership, 3 or 4 weeks prior. So it's important to freeze your credit. Crime of forgery, and again, it's just a matter of once your identity is stolen, they're forging documents, driver's licenses, checks, and it can be an electronic also. I'm not gonna get too deep into this. I want to get more into the fraud side of things. Check and credit card frauds happen often also. What they do is they'll take your mail, they'll see your mail. If your mailbox flap is up, you're an easy target. Okay, they'll come by and take your mail. Like I said, ours wasn't even up. It was mail I was receiving as home equity line of credit check, and somebody stole it, wrote themselves a check for $7,500. But then again, like I said, we were able to go through the bank and then track that person down. He stole from the wrong person. That's part of the problem too. I was able to track him down. But often outgoing mail is stolen, and even incoming mail. Okay. So work with the banks, work with the businesses. If your account has been compromised, the victim needs to work with the bank to change over account information. We just closed all the accounts once the things were stolen, and then got reissued new checks. So the counterfeit checks, the same thing. They'll get the victim's account and routing numbers are on the bottom of the check. They get a blank check stock. These checks may be the victim's name, address on them, but the routing numbers or a combination of above were used on, it's called washing checks. They'll take a check and they'll wash it and use your information. And then all of a sudden this money's coming out of your account. Home improvement fraud. This one we had a recent one. And I know anybody who's had even any work done, if there's, especially after a tornado, hurricane. I came originally from Florida, and I remember when Hurricane Andrew hit, all the scammers that came through and were offering to do work for peanuts. And obviously they can't do that. So anybody going door to door trying to drum up work, that's a problem. And again, want to check, make sure that they're licensed, insured, and bonded. And they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna, if they come to their house, they're digging for something. Okay. So they usually target people older. They'll complete what's common. They'll ask you for a lot of money up front. They'll take that money because you're starting work. They'll say they need the money to start the work. And then they'll just leave leftover supplies. The price is going to be too good to be true. A lot of them, you'll hear like these gypsies that go around and do that, right? They'll seal your driveway for you for next to nothing, and all it is motor oil. So they also try distraction methods. They try to, they'll have one person walk outside with you, and another person will go around back and get into your house. So it's not just fraud. They'll steal your jewelry. They'll go through your house and start stealing things while you are outside showing them around.
Gary, that just happened to my mom a while back. She had the neighbor was having garage sales, so they targeted her because they see her out walking her dog. And so a guy came to the door and was trying to get into there. He said they were saying that they were there to collect money for a roof repair they had done, which they had never done. And the other guy was trying to get in the back door. She ended up having to give him a check to get them to go away, but she made them take a check, and then they got caught at the bank as soon as they went to cash it. So, but the FBI said, or the police said, that it was probably gypsies out of Shelbyville. That they said they'd probably be back with a different face.
Yeah, gypsies are good for that. Like I said, they always try to keep you distracted, and they take what they can. And again, I would say never use a contractor that comes to your door, and then ask for references. So home improvement do's and don'ts. Require a bid in writing. Get multiple bids from contractors for any work. Get a written contract. Don't pay any money before the work starts. Check with the Better Business Bureau. That's a good place to look at too for them. Verify the work before the final standard work. Anything shady by a contractor, obviously report them to the Better Business Bureau so you can help protect somebody else. And that's not a bad thing to do also. So this was a fraud case I had. Again, we stumbled on this poor lady here was mailing $20,000. So feel good it was quite a bit of money. And this was Shirley, and she was going to have a deck rebuilt or done in North Carolina. She was convinced that she had to send $20,000 cash to Los Angeles, California. This is how she mailed it. She put it in socks inside her shoes. It's wrapped in, you can see it's all $100 bills, and she wrapped it in aluminum foil, taped up the box. So again, I bring up Shirley a little bit here. I think Andrew, I spoke to on the phone. I kind of filled you in on what happened there, but she was, even speaking to her on the phone, she was in her 80s. Very nice lady. You can tell that she was probably lonely. She was telling me that her husband had died 7 years earlier, so she was a widower. And then she told me about she had to call the police because there was a snake in her kitchen, and she was going on about a hip replacement surgery and other things. And honestly, if I was a scammer, I could have just talked to her for a long time and just told her that, hey, I'm a widower too. I could have sucked her in. I could have said the same thing. And I think that's what happened to her, because she called me 2 weeks later, and I didn't know this at the time, but she got, and we'll get into this a little deeper in the PowerPoint, but it's called a love interest fraud. being very friendly, and he was friendly too, and sucked her into thinking that he's going to come visit her, and he was coming from out of the country, and then he got stuck, and then his mother was in the hospital, and after several months, she had mailed $200,000 to this person. So those things can happen to lonely people if you know them. If your neighbors, guys that are widowed, and they're going to get these phone calls, and they're going to try to say that they try to, it's called catfishing them, right? So caregivers and home health care fraud, this happens pretty often also. So you might have somebody that comes into the house and does healthcare. They may take a check out of the middle of the checkbook, and then you just start finding money missing. Money transfers, the identity theft, all these things they'll take advantage of that elderly person who's not maybe completely cognitive. So it's very serious. Again, that'd be the same thing as check with who's taking care of your elderly person. So counterfeit money, I'm going to kind of skip over this. This would only be like, Jim, I would say that, if you have family members or anybody out there that's doing Facebook Marketplace or a garage sale, this is where counterfeit money comes in, anything like that. So that could happen. I'm asking my wife to come in because she's gonna probably bring up a couple things, especially about the caregiver thing. We'll get back on that too. So a lot of times what they're doing is they'll make copies of the wash money. They'll make it appear that like it's real. They'll change the denominations. I've got dogs making noise in here. So I've got one I'm taking care of. So I got another work dog here at the house. So we got it. They just ate dinner. They have to go outside soon. So the papers get printer also. So if you sell anything online, we just went over some of the caregiver stuff. Okay. I'm going to introduce my wife. This is my wife, Suzanne.
Hello.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
Hey, dogs.
Here, I'm putting them away.
Okay.
Come on, guys.
Anyway, we'll take a break here for a second. Get back into the counterfeit money a little bit, but like I said, it's going to be used for anytime you're in the dark or you're doing something selling on your own. That's usually where the setup comes from. It's from Marketplace or anything like that. So yard sales, parking lot exchanges, low light, nighttime, quick exchanges, online sales like Craigslist. Businesses receive counterfeit bill, then the bad guy receives legitimate money in exchange for it. If you've ever had a problem with counterfeit money, the Secret Service is going to keep it. You're not getting it back. So you're going to be out that money. Skimming devices, clone credit cards. I've had these cases also. Protect your PIN. Obviously, sometimes you see those warnings on the ATMs to cover your PIN. What skimming devices do is they're put over the top of the card reader itself. There's a couple good videos out there on YouTube that you can see these. What's going to happen sometimes is that let me grab my wife's cards here. If you think you're a victim of a skimming device, what's going to happen is the back of the tape, the back of this tape here, and sometimes it gets chipped up. It'll get kind of chipped up. So using the pass now, where you're just putting the chip on the top, is probably the safest way to do it. The card readers, the skimmers, have to read the tape. Okay, so some of these places will have those card readers, and what they're doing is they're just putting the machine over the top. It's sending an electronic signal to a reader. It also happens. We had friends of ours that happened at a restaurant. A waitress or a server that's doing nefarious things, they will skim that card in their own little thing, and then what they're doing is they're collecting that data to sell. And that happens sometimes too. Again, you're going to keep track of all your cards and what the money's going out. I do mine probably every other day. I get on my bank and see or you can put alerts on for your cards if somebody uses the card, especially a debit card. Mine's set for any expense paid over $25. So if it's not me or my wife, then I know my number's been taken. So compromised. Yep. Because your card numbers are collected electronically, and then they're embossed on a plastic card, and then they're made up, and they'll make a bunch of cards and they'll sell them. We have card readers, they're magnetic card readers, so we can go through the strips. What we'll do is we'll swipe those strips and see if there is money on those accounts that belong to you or any other victims. And again, we'll see if there's an actual card number associated with it. So I've had these cases again before. So use a familiar ATM. Like sometimes when you go out of state, you got to be careful. Maybe make sure it's a legitimate bank or ATM. Sometimes they have those little kiosk ones that they charge you extra money for, but make sure it's legitimate. Check the card reader and the keypad. If it doesn't look right, you can gently tug on it. I still do it to this day. Again, my wife and I, we've been victims, so we're a little heightened awareness now. But I'll pull on them, especially at a gas station. If I go somewhere, I'll pull on it too. Like I said, there's a good video I saw online where one of a bodega or 7-Eleven store, the guy who actually worked there put it over the top, and they noticed when they pulled their card out, the tape dragged a little bit, and they showed these people, hey, and it actually peeling it off in front of this guy, and he's like, I don't know anything about it. Not true. So look for hidden cameras in small pinholes so you can protect your PIN number. And then continuously, like I said, the last one down there, monitor your accounts frequently.
And also, I went to Costco and got gas last night, and they actually have a sticker on there that says it's verified. So that's the first time I've ever seen
Yeah, you
that.
might see more of that now. That's true. Prepaid card purchase scams. You buy these cards. A lot of times what's happening is they're going in and they're stealing them. They're scratching off the numbers and then they're putting them back. If you have that, you'll see it. So if you buy gift cards for family members, for grandkids, for kids, and they say, hey, this card is used up, there's nothing on there, that's because as soon as you activated it, they stole it.
And also, when you're sending them to your grandkids or to anyone else, please provide tape the actual receipt to the back of the card. It just provides the person who's getting it, if they get into the situation, that they have verification of purchase.
So when you get the card, your money's gone without you spending it. Basically, that's it.
So they're stealing it before it even gets put on, or how does that work?
Yeah,
Yep.
they're able to get the number off. And then what they're doing is they have it all downloaded. And then when you activate the card, or if you call the card in, or you try to use it, that money's already gone.
It happened to me at Hobby Lobby. I had a $50 gift card. It's actually sitting here with the bumblebees on it. And I went to go use it, and they said, we're so sorry, but this has been used.
Interesting.
Speedway gas card.
Yeah,
too.
Speedway gas card happened the
I
same
just got her
thing.
$25 Speedway gas card a couple months ago, and the same thing. They said it was used. So it's hard to tell. I'm not buying gift cards anymore. It's just not worth it. So here's another parcel. Like I said, this is what we're looking at different things. This is a gift card or a credit card case. These were iTunes. That's another way of doing fraud. They'll tell the victims to go out and buy these gift cards. They play themselves off as legitimate people. Honestly, they'll say it's the IRS, get all this cash, or we want you to go to Target and buy $2,000 worth of gift cards, and so on. And people are doing it. So these are all the cards I recovered. It was several thousands of dollars in there, because they're all hundreds. So, and then this one here, if you see the label, it says Kathy Ming on it. And then every one of these cards.
Wow.
Have her name on it. So whoever Kathy Ming is, they took her identity. None of those cards there, those are all fake cards. Okay. It says Citibank on them. When I ran the tapes on them, none of them are visas from Bank of America either. So the face of the cards were not legitimate either. So
Also,
Yep.
can I add one thing?
Yep.
We have been victims of fraud on many levels, unfortunately. And I just want to tell anyone who can hear this that there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Tell the person who you're the closest with, who can help you. It could be a family member or someone that you've known for 10 or more years. Could be anyone like that you know personally and see them. But there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It doesn't, I always say for fraud, it doesn't really matter if it's elderly or if it's us or if it's our kids. It's all the same. It's all the same fraud. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. These people are highly trained and educated on how to get your money from you. So I that's something I really, really want to stress.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, Gary, I wanted to add something here.
Yes.
And you had mentioned it earlier about this element of secrecy that is typically prevalent along almost all of these types of scams. But I think it's worth, and you may have mentioned something earlier, but I think it's worthy of mentioning as well, once more. And maybe you can elaborate on it a little bit more. But when my parents were scammed out of this money last week, there was this creation of this sense of urgency and an emergency, and not only this element of secrecy, but this fake sense of an emergency. And so,
100%.
and I think that's an element across these scams as well. Maybe you have something additional to add to that.
No, that's 100%. It's always about urgency. Okay. You got to do this now. You have to send it prior to overnight. I think what your parents did, where they sent it first overnight, that's like, that's the most expensive way to send a parcel. Again, those are the ones we're looking for too. This is exactly what we're drug traffickers are doing. So they're both criminals, right? And that's who I target. That's my job. But it's the anonymity involved in it. They want to stay anonymous. They want it fast. They rent Airbnbs to get the packages delivered to them. Did you watch the YouTube video, Andrea?
I haven't yet, no, but I've
Okay.
got it.
So
So this is the first time
really
we've all been
good.
together. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, when you get a chance, and again, I usually show it during my presentation. I'm not going to show it, but and I'll mention it again for those who are on here and who are watching the recording. Go to YouTube and search. It's called Glitter Bomb Fraud. Glitter Bomb Fraud. It's entertaining, number one, but it's also very, very educational. So I recommend that video to everyone, and watch it with your parents as well. But
Also, the mules. Tell them about the mules that are in the video. The mules.
yes, and you'll see the mules in the video too, different things like that. So like I said, I recommend the video highly. Again, the online scams, they're going to be on OfferUp, Craigslist, Facebook. Suspects mails you a check or the amount of money that you're for your item. They overpay you. They overpay you on purpose. They say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and it's not even their check, or the check bounces anyway, and they'll ask you to send the money back. I don't see too many of those, but they can happen. The phishing scams, those are phone internet scams. I'm getting those. I get them all the time. I'm getting them all the time, like daily. I'm going to show you. Let me show you on my phone real quick. I kept them for this PowerPoint, for this video, because it's almost a daily thing. Are you getting them, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah. And they look like, hey, Microsoft, you need to do this or that. So this one is your payment failed. It's hard to see. Not going to see it on there because of the screen. And then another one, PNC Bank. I don't have a PNC Bank account. This one says, online debit request for amount of $657.30 at Walmart. Visit blah, 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 blah to cancel immediately or reply yes to approve. So these are the things I'm getting. You'll get the ones from FedEx also. You'll see I have those screens that come up.
And never, ever open them.
You're directed to purchase gift cards and provide account numbers. You'll be directed to they'll know a bit about you. Your public information is out there. Just go to Spokio or White Pages, put your name in there and see how much information's in there. If I Google my name, all the stuff that I've ever done as a police officer, if I go to Spokio or White Pages, and Google or look in there under my name, it has my father's name, my mother's name, when my father died, when they have, I mean, everything's in there. My brother, where I lived, born in New Jersey, grew up in Fort Lauderdale. It's like, it's unbelievable. It goes down the list and they just have enough on you. And then the next thing you know, they're fishing. Okay. And it's just one of those things where you get spoof phone calls. The caller ID might appear legitimate also. They're able to do that. So those are things that could come up, especially on the phishing scams.
We had I managed a bunch of real estate offices for over a decade. And one of the big scams that happened there, and we would put on our email signatures not to do this, but people have to actually read that and pay attention. But what people do is they say they're from the bank, they say they're from the title company, they say they're from the realtor. They changed one letter or something or a symbol or something in the maybe they use a different kind of @ sign or whatever, and then but it looks like it's coming from the realtor or the title company. And we actually had one of our clients that gave them $40,000, so it was supposed to be the down payment, because they did what it said there rather than what we really said, so that's common in the real estate business. They're doing that all the time.
So I know you were bringing up the urgency, right? You see the line too. That's what it says. Payment must have money now. I have to have this money now. And the urgency thing comes on. And they also, like I said, they try to keep you on the phone for a long time and just talk you through the whole thing.
And they also, the love interests are big in it too. And that's a lot of the catfishing.
Yeah, we're going to get into that next.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they'll say, I'm going to lose my job. Please help me out. And it really pulls on good people's heartstrings that they want to help them to not lose their job. And that is crazy.
Yeah. So this is where normally I would show the YouTube video. So I recommend everybody just, if you put it in your search, just glitter bomb fraud. And that's normally how they want them to mail the money. They stick it between pages of books or wrap it in aluminum foil because they don't think the dog can smell it, or carbon paper and things like that. So let them just keep trying. We'll still keep hitting it. So try to get that money back. Grandparent phishing scams, calls and pretends to be the grandchild. They can do that a lot of times now with AI. They can duplicate voices. Unfortunately, if that happens to you or your parents or anybody out there, ask inquiring questions. Is this really, hey, remember your dog's name when you were 5 years old? And maybe you never had a dog, or maybe they can't answer the question. Then it's not them. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. They might say, I'm sorry.
We were just saying, mom's asked that before. So we might be coming up with a code word or a password for mom.
You can even write them down and put them next to the phone,
right?
And just say, hey, ask this question of them if they think so.
Absolutely.
And then here's the thing, the big secret thing, right? The next line, please don't tell mom and dad. Don't tell family members. We got to keep this a secret. Typically, they're in jail or have been arrested and needs bail. How about that? Right? That's what happened to Andrea and her mom's.
Yeah.
They're involved in an accident. So they may sound different. Oh, I don't sound the same because I've been in an accident and this isn't my normal voice because I'm on medicine. I got a tube in my throat or whatever. And they'll put another person on the line pretending to be the police or a prosecutor. Ask them their name. So if they're in a county lockup, hey, what's your name? What's the name of the jail? And then you follow up and say, okay, let me call back. Power companies, scams. We're going to shut your power off. Okay. you're delinquent on your bill, you send cash now, go buy gift cards now, mail them here, or we're gonna, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're mailing them to New York, LA. What a lot of people don't know, the thousands, the tens of thousands, millions and millions of dollars. A lot of this is funding terrorism. Hezbollah is a big one that they're funding. Also, it's not just for their own pockets, but they're also shipping this money to nefarious organizations. So you're behind on your light bill, they're going to scam you on that. Don't buy it. Actually, you know, if you think it's the actual power company, you just hang up on them and then call a direct line or look online. Federal agencies too. IRS is a big one. FBI. You're in trouble if you don't pay this today, right now. Go get this money now and mail it right now, or else we're going to come lock you up. They put the fear, especially in older people, 60 and over, 70 and over. They get them and they hook them. And you know, anything, your vehicle registration was used in a crime, you're behind on your taxes, and you pay the money now, or we'll send the police. And all you got to do is say, well, I'll call the police myself, you know, and it's going to end. That phone call is going to end. Secret shopper phishing scams. Typically an email or work thing they do. They'll give you a to-do list, things to buy. Then mail checks and informs you to cash and keep enough to cover the items, you know, as your fee. And then they want you to send the rest. So the checks, again, this is the same thing as the Facebook or marketplace scams, that they're going to give you some money, then a check is going to bounce. Publishers Clearinghouse lottery phishing scams. This is a huge one. This may shock you, but I had a lady refinanced her house twice. She was a successful OBGYN. She was in assisted living care. And I even spoke to her on the phone, and it was a combination of this and the person that she was dealing with became a love interest, and she was being catfished, and she swore that it was her boyfriend. $2 million later, and I mean $2 million because I spoke to their family members and they tried to get her to stop. They tried to get power of attorney. They tried to get everything to stop, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't get it to stop. Eventually, she became part of the scams, and people were mailing money to her. The last I heard, a HSI agent that I spoke to in Cincinnati was going to go arrest her and charge her because the way I stumbled onto this case was that I recovered $70,000 that she was mailing to her boyfriend, right? And she was told to keep $30,000 for herself. The $100,000 came from somebody in Texas, and she couldn't tell me. So I couldn't recover the money for the person she took it from. So that went into a probable cause affidavit, which eventually I believe she's been arrested and charged federally because she became part of the scam, it's a shame. She was younger. She wasn't, I mean, she was in her mid 60s, but she got involved. So you get a phone call, you'll say you won. You have to send the insurance money or other fees, the interest fees, pay them up front, pay your taxes up front. They'll ask you to get prepaid cards and mail those, or they'll ask you to mail cash. And this is Rosemary. This is the one I was just talking about. So $2.1 million. Her boyfriend's name was Billy. And basically already touched on it. So when I first recovered the money, I sent police officers to her house, her home address that she's no longer living in. And there was mail and newspapers all piled up. They said the house was all disheveled. So she obviously hadn't been there for a while. So pretty sure it's been foreclosed on after she refinanced it twice. Computer virus and lockout phishing scams. These are very common. I know, Jim, you said you saw The Beekeeper. You see what happened to the nice lady who gave them access to their computer. I've had a few victims tell me about this too, is that did you give them access to your computer? And they said, yes, I did. Remote access, right. So it's remote access. They say they're from Microsoft. Yeah. Again, that's another one I get on my phone almost all the time. Hey, Microsoft says you need to update your thing and you're going to be locked out of all your stuff, and none of it's true. But the people who do click on it and log into it, then they get scammed, and they speak to somebody on the phone that tells them that it has to be has to be done, or else you're going to lose everything.
With AI, I
And
quit
end up
doing
losing
something.
it anyway. So
With AI, I quit doing something I used to do. If I get a call from like Microsoft there to fix my computer or they have to do something, I would keep them on the phone forever because I have Apple. And so I was, just for, make them tell me how to do things. I can't find that button. I don't see this. Now that they have AI, I don't want them getting my voice. But back then I used to try to keep them on the line as long as I could just for grins and giggles. But,
yeah, I got you, man. Yeah, might as well have fun with them.
Well, now, like I said, now they take your voice. So I'm like, I don't want to play.
Yeah, or you have to do something there. You got to be careful with that too. So they pretend to be a tech. And then again, last thing, they want the money now. The urgency is there, and they're going to keep you on the phone again for a long time.
Can I ask one question? Did you enjoy The Beekeeper? Did you find
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Huh?
Did you find it informational?
Well, it was because Gary had already told me about it as being that it was informative, that it was actually fairly accurate on that part of it. And so I watched it with different eyes than I would have otherwise, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No.
So I already knew that what he was saying was real. Now, the rest of the show kind of reminded me of John Wick. It's kind of like don't pick off that badass retired guy, right? But and then in fact, I actually am a beekeeper, so that actually made it even. So all of us beekeepers are badasses, right?
So I would say this to anybody watching that's going to follow up with the recording or they're on Facebook, that it is a heads up. It's violent and it's got a lot of foul language in it, but it's Jason Statham. So
yeah, it was fun to watch.
As far as the scam goes, it has to do with this computer virus scam, and it is, other than all the dramatics and the violence in it, it is accurate as far as. But then again, like I said, you can watch the glitter bomb video on YouTube, and it's the same thing. It's giving you the same information. Romance and dating scam, this is a big one. Like I said, it's that catfishing. I kind of touched on it earlier. It's what happened to Rosemary and a couple others, and Shirley in North Carolina. They give excuses not to meet in person. I mean, and then they exchange photos. They get angry with the person if they don't send money. So once they hook them and reel them in, they keep them there for a long, long time and promise this and that. And it's always an online or phone. They never meet in person. So again, it's one of those things where I know, Andrea, you said that there's an elderly community there. I spoke to the detective out there in your neck of the woods and said there's a lot of people with a lot of money and it's elderly. And I think, these scammers know. A lot of my victims come from retirement communities in Florida, South Florida, and it's the same thing. They know where to target. They know who to target. So it's one of those things that it's important for them to be aware.
It's ironic that you said that, Gary. Last weekend, some friends of ours from Florida, the Villages, which is a large retirement community, were here, and I was explaining, a little bit of the situation. And I know that the Villages, they have a lot of demonstrations and a lot of these kind of things to help spread the word about scams and fraud. So appreciate that you said that.
That's good. No, absolutely. Yeah.
That's where we're from originally. Well, I'm from there originally. So yeah, it's big. It's so big, and it just hurts the people to their core.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate that they prey upon people that are lonely or people that have families and just want to do good things, which is exactly what happened with my parents. They preyed upon their love for and safety for my brother. So yeah, makes sense.
I'm so sorry. But the only way that we're going to get out this information is literally by doing exactly what we're doing.
You're absolutely right.
Just and that's people. The only way, because people are never going to believe it.
Yeah, it's so absurd. And the fact that, they convinced my parents to keep this secret. I'd seen them the day of that fraud, of that happening. And I said, why didn't you say something? I could have tried to stop it, or we could have, but they told him to keep it a secret. So
Yeah, they do that. That's again typical. Keep it a secret, get the money fast. Don't tell
Right.
anybody.
it's exactly what they did. Exactly.
Keeping it a secret ought to be,
That should be a big red flag.
Yeah.
Whenever
Sure,
they tell you to keep secrets from those that you love, it's not going to end well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We raised our children that if someone said secret, they come home immediately.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this case study here was a retired school teacher,
Honest.
and it was sad. It's very sad. So he was mailing his pension checks. Again, this was another love interest scam. He was mailing his pension checks every month to somebody that he never met. Ever met. I spoke to his daughter because again, I always try to reach out to a family member, try to get in touch with a family member. That's the next step. So luckily, you know, when I had your case too, when you guys you had already called it in, you already checked it out. But a lot of times I'm sending the police to the house. I wanted an officer to go to the house, check on the person who sent the money, make sure they're okay. We've had uncooperative ones too also, and I you know, I just send them money back to them, but
They repeat the script that they're told.
yeah, so they're repeating the script. Exactly right. So what happened here again, I recovered $18,000 of his currency, but he had already lost his house and he was living in his truck. He was sleeping in his truck. So the daughter was going to help him out from there on and hopefully get things back in order for him. But you get a lot of that where they don't have family members, and like Shirley in North Carolina, she's still in the same boat. She doesn't have any family members that live close by, and her husband had passed away. But if I can find a family member, the reason I ask officers to go to the house, not only to make the report, but to find out if there's anybody who can help them out. A lot of times, you know, we try to do that. And again, the first thing, a lot of things is that they're embarrassed. I had one family member actually get angry on the phone and upset. And I said, this is the last thing you need to do. And I know I brought that up at the beginning of the PowerPoint. We don't need the loved ones and the family members to get upset at the victim. They need to empathize with them and say, I can see how this could have happened. You know, your mom was doing the right thing. Your brother was in an accident and he was the cause, and he was in jail and needed to be bonded out. She said, oh, I got to get him out of jail. I got to get him. I don't want him to stay in there. And they prey on their fears too. They say, you know, how ugly jail is, you know, this is going to happen to him and that's going to happen to him and so forth. So other scams to gather your information. These are the ones I was talking about. These are the ones that I actually received on my phone. Your package information. This is, you know, unauthorized payment was detected and we suspended your delivery. Your tracking code is this. That's not even a good tracking code. I didn't order anything. So again, they're just trying to get you to log into, you can see the highlights on the bottom with the log into. Here's more. Netflix. That looks like a real Netflix.
It all looks real.
You know, it all looks real. Emblem. FedEx will, here you go. Read that FedEx one out loud.
Yeah, the English isn't very exciting for them.
FedEx, yeah, and then the D and the E are capitalized, right? Will sent parcel number. That's not China calling, is it? So, okay, so that you get my point. So these are the text messages. These are the things that will come in either by email or even on your phone, and just all you have to do is just you know, hold it down and then report spam. The thing will come up on your phone that says report spam on it.
And also, we had a guy that had Amazon. What was it? The cruise. It was the cruise. And
Oh yeah, you want a free cruise, and literally looked like it had all the
Princess Cruise Lines or something.
the emblems were
And it
exact.
had another company in there too.
Yeah, Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Call the companies. Just don't even
sure.
deal with it. Just call the company.
So Jim, you're talking about you didn't want to stay on the phone for too long because your AI voice would be duplicated. So according to McAfee, again, the survey, a quarter of adults experienced some kind of AI voice scam. 77% of victims saying they lost money in 2022 to 2.6 million in imposter scams alone. AI fraud detection uses machines learning algorithms. So again, they're using a baseline. They're trying to get your patterns. You'll get a phone call. Sometimes you get these phone calls and nobody's on the other end. Don't say yes.
Never say yes.
If you say yes, a lot of times you're committing to, they're copying your voice, and then they're going to use that affirmative to do something with it. So if nobody responds when you answer the phone after 30 seconds, just hang up. Again, this is just more basically stuff on AI. So again, this summary real quick, pay attention, slow down. Don't get pressured into quick decisions. Monitor your accounts like all the time, every other day, every week, whatever you have to do, just monitor your accounts, put alerts on your accounts. Again, freeze your credit. Ask for help from someone you trust prior to making a decision. If
That you know.
Yeah, that you know, if it's somebody that you can trust, if you don't have family members, a trusted neighbor, somebody at church, a chaplain, somebody there, a counselor, wherever you go, wherever you attend, maybe do something like that, but it has to be somebody that you trust. Scammers, hang up and call to verify. Okay, just if they're a scammer and they're trying to suck you in, then like I said, if it's a power company and they say you're going to turn your power off, it's the IRS and you need to send money now, just hang up on them and verify. Never provide personal information over the phone. Business can be done in person. It's best to do so. That includes contractors, banks, everything. Like I was saying, do it in person. And then, like I said, freeze your credit. You have to go to each credit report online to freeze them, and you can unfreeze them at any time. When we purchased a car a couple of years back, it was the same thing. Hey, your credit's frozen. I said, I'll unfreeze it for today. You can check my credit. And then I froze it the next day again.
Does that impact your credit cards or any of that kind of stuff?
No.
It doesn't affect your credit score whatsoever. In fact, it's recommended. A lot of times too, if you're a victim of fraud, you can go to your state attorney general's office. There's a lot of information there. You can report it there, report fraudulent stuff to the Better Business Bureau. Also, a lot of these businesses will change their names too to get around it, but you can still report it to your state attorney general's office, and then they have information also that they can give. They give out also. So any questions?
Can I add one thing?
You can add one thing.
The last time that we did this, it was to elderly people who were wonderful. And I went to the dollar store and got an address book, a black address book for $1.24, $1.25. And I put all of my passwords in there. And so if it's a journal, if it's something where you're going to forget, at one point we forgot our 10-digit code for Equifax or whatever it was for a credit company. And we had to go through a big rigmarole just to get it opened again. So that's something that all of us can use, and it doesn't have to be out, where people can find it. Put it somewhere.
Put it in a safe, a lockbox.
You can put it anywhere as long as you can go and get it. So that's really important too. It's something that's $1.25 plus tax, and you've got everything taken care of, and you'll have it.
I had somebody ask me that. She said, I got all my passwords. She was at church. She said, I got all my passwords on my phone. Is that dangerous? I said, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So, and Jim, I don't know. I don't know if I want to put that up there or not, but
that's up to you. I can put it to where it's also available for people to reach out to you, but that's your call.
Yeah, it's my contact information. I usually put it in there for basically that's more local, because our financial organized crimes office, I'm not again, I repeat, I am not a fraud detective. I'm an interdiction detective. And Charlotte's the boss. She's right there. That's her picture. So
Wait a minute, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's Charlotte right there, Mom.
yeah,
Daddy. There's Charlotte.
but emails preferred if you want. I don't know, is that cut off to you, the email?
No, it's fine. It's all
Okay.
there.
Okay. Yeah, and that's my number, but like I said, I'd rather not get I work midnight shift.
Yeah.
The FedEx sort starts at midnight. I'll be back out there tonight looking for drugs and drug proceeds and trafficking money, and then stumble across a fraud case. We'll take care of it. Get that money back to our victims. So, any
Well,
questions from you guys?
Gary,
Yeah.
would you do me a favor? Would and introduce Andrea and her family and kind of explain, the situation, and then we'll let them talk about what's going on. So I think that's a great opportunity we have here.
Yeah. First of all, I'm really glad Andrea and her husband are here, and her mom and dad.
I'm
Again,
the son.
This
brother.
is my brother.
oh, brother, I'm sorry.
So that's
I can't. It's
okay.
hard to see.
You're really tiny. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So last week, my brother called me early in the morning, telling me that my parents had been defrauded of about $8,600. And what we learned is the previous day, somebody had called their home phone number, stating that my brother had been in an accident and was in jail and was needed bond money, and to go to the bank. And the bank did what they were supposed to do. They asked all sorts of questions like, what are you using this money for? Because it was such a large amount, and they don't take out that much money. And, they said, oh, you need to tell the bank it's for home improvements. Well, it's not for home improvements. And then FedEx it overnight. So thankfully, Detective Hadden was able to find the money, and we will get it returned. Now,
Charlotte. did.
Charlotte found it. Goodness. But our family loves dogs, and that's kind of the irony behind it all, is because every one of us have dogs around us, and we're just so grateful. We recognize that this kind of fraud happens just so extensively, and that this is just really a kind of luck, just a luck of the draw that you were able to find it. And I'm so thankful for it. We're thankful to you for getting this back. Mom and dad have been sitting beside me, listening to the presentation. Thankfully, I've got Brian here listening to the presentation as well. And just thank you for this. And, mom and dad, of course, they're embarrassed, but, there's nothing that they could ever, and they convinced mom and dad to keep this secret, which is so strange, because they could have called me at any time last week and said, I think your brother's in trouble. And we would have completely
They could have called him.
They could have called him too, and they could have completely nipped this in the bud. So, don't be embarrassed if this happens to your family. It sounds like it's pretty prevalent out there. But when anybody ever says keep a secret, or keep it, don't tell anybody, or it's needed now, that should be a red flag to you.
100%. Yep, that's it. And that's it. So that same night we did, what we're doing is, like, the boxes are going by. We're working, just to give you an idea of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3,000 or 4,000 packages coming down an hour, and we're pulling boxes off with certain labeling. And like I said, they're going to ask that sender, that victim, to label it and send it priority overnight or first overnight, or spend a lot of money to ship it.
Yeah.
Same way a drug trafficker does.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a box. And again, once we pull the boxes off, we'll have 10 or 12 of them, and then we line them up for the dogs to run on them. So that's how we do it. And then she hit on 2 boxes. One had $30,000, and both of those sender and receivers are drug traffickers. Yes. So we average, several $1 million a year in drug trafficking proceeds. But I also last year recovered about $500,000 in fraud money to get back to the fraud victim. So when we stumble across these things, I get almost more pleasure out of, hey, we helped somebody out. We got their money back for them. I don't mind taking a bite out of crime, or Charlotte doesn't, taking money from drug traffickers, and she's found, kilos of fentanyl and cocaine and things like that being shipped also. So she does great at her job. and she'll continue to do so. And if, like I said, anybody listening or watching this recording, it's not just about that. It's if you feel like you're a victim of fraud, or if you know, it's like Andrea said, hang up the phone, don't be in a rush, call a family member. And like I said, I'm happy to get it back to you. And again, it does take time. Once the money is counted by the bank, and I think I explained it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks, because what happens is
Right.
it's a seizure that has to go through the chain of command. They have to sign off on returning it. It'll come in a bank check, certified mail. And so we make sure that the money does come back that way. So
I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that. And I'm just so thankful for your work with our local police and your work. And I just really appreciate the time that you spent. I appreciate that it was a dog. And
She's going to get some,
I'm gonna mail treats. I'm gonna mail treats.
okay, I'll take that.
Speaking
Yeah,
of dogs, mine just showed up. So
All right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
all right.
I have a question. You were talking about things being shipped to Airbnbs. I've got quite a few friends that have Airbnbs. And
Yes.
so how does that work, and what kind of exposure does that give to the Airbnb owner?
Oh, you got to
Yeah,
watch.
you got-
You got to
yeah.
watch that video.
I
Watch.
just picked it up.
Yeah.
Is
I
that the
think
glitter
about-
one?
Yeah.
But it's not the ones that we're looking for.
No. So originally, so the guy was renting his upstairs, and it was being mailed downstairs, and he wasn't the intended target of the police or the glitter bomb, for that matter.
Yeah.
So if you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, the person renting the Airbnb, it can happen where they don't know who they're renting to, right? They seem legitimate. They seem like they could be legitimate. All they're doing is renting that space out. We had a controlled delivery. Well, you're from the area, right, Jim?
Right.
So Castleton, that's a nice area, nice
That's where I
condo.
live. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you do? You live in
Yeah.
Castleton?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to give you an example, this guy, he was renting his nice condo in Castleton area as an Airbnb, and we had seized 10 pounds of methamphetamine, and we did what's called controlled delivery. It would be the same thing as the glitter bomb. So we have undercover agents watch this box be delivered, and we wait for somebody to pick it up and bring it into the house. Well, you run the name of the label that's on the label, and the person on the label is actually the owner of the Airbnb. He has no criminal history. He's a very legitimate, it's a very nice area. And what happened is that it had nothing to do with him. It only had to do with the people who were shipping the drugs and the person coming to get them, the mule who actually flew in from California by direction of the cartel, and then went to that Airbnb to pick up the narcotics.
Were they even renting it, or were they just using it as a post office, or like as a drop box?
Well, they rented it.
Okay.
They rented it. So they not only did they rent it, okay, but the person who owns the Airbnb, his name was on the label of the drugs. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
they can get that off the tax records. That's not hard to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
once you rent the Airbnb, you know the person's name who's renting it to you.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk, like you said, if you said somebody that's renting theirs, you just don't know who you're renting to.
Yeah.
So.
I gotta say, I've got several friends that do that, so I definitely want to give them a heads up. So yeah.
Yeah.
So Gary, just a
Yes.
question here. Is there a maybe a theme or a common area of the country where you see these addresses being used? Is it California? I'd imagine it wouldn't be Vermont or North Dakota, but
Yeah.
is
Los
it
Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Mostly California, mostly LA, the LA area. We've had some go to New York, to the city,
Okay.
Brooklyn, the Bronx, things like that. So it's
Okay.
usually all East Coast, New York or California.
Not surprising. Okay. Yeah.
No,
makes
it's not.
sense.
It's not. And then, like I said, a lot of the money's going towards, it lines their pockets, but it also goes towards funding terrorism.
Right. I think ours was to Whittier, California.
Yes.
Right. That's
Yeah.
close. Yeah, it's close. That's a LA. I think it's LA County. in that area.
Okay.
It is, yeah. I called the Whittier. police.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, like I said, I spoke to the detective that took the initial report
Mhm.
for your mom, and he said the same thing. It's even following up on these things, most of those addresses are no good, the names are no good.
Yeah, that's
Right.
exactly what he said to me. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. When we're able to, I use HSI as a federal agency, and I can do a controlled delivery and hopefully, catch somebody on that end. So,
can you pull up the glitter bomb one for them again, so they can write it down?
no, I just YouTube that.
Oh, okay,
If you
I,
just-
I do have it, but
Yeah, you have it.
cause
So-
I just searched it in YouTube and it was porch pirates and,
It's Porch Pirates, but it's glitter bomb fraud.
I did it.
Yeah, it comes up glitter bomb fraud. Stop.
Well, thank you so much, Gary.
thank
This
you,
is
everyone.
very informative. Thank you, Andrea, and your family for being here. That was phenomenal to have
Thank you so much.
firsthand experience.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. This will be available for people to see, and I appreciate this. Hopefully, we can help someone avoid it.
I
hope so,
hope
too.
so.
All
Thank
right,
you.
see you guys.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Nice to
Alrighty.
meet you all.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.